First of all, thank you for this opportunity to present at the International Congress on Aesthetic and Pedagogical Entanglements. My name is Maria Pareja, and I am a professor of Spanish language and literature in high school and a member of Thalys Research Group from the University of Valencia. At the university, I work as associate professor in the Department of Hispanic Philology at the Jaume I University.
At present, the crime novel has become the narrative genre with the greatest impact on the universal literary scene. This success has encouraged the celebration of Black theme festivals, literary awards, editorial collections, and activities that promote its dissemination. This work focuses on an educational project aimed at teenagers. In the methodological proposal, the keys of the crime novel are revealed, and its didactic strategy is based on offering secondary school students direct contact with writers and participation in literary competition on this topic. In an initial phase, the teacher encourages the student to become a creative writer and participate in literary contests with a hard-boiled novel and police theme. This proposal attached on the youth competition organized by the main black festival on the Mediterranean coast, Castelló Negre, and offered the opportunity to live the experience of being a writer for young people from the province of Castellón, Spain. Qualitative research is exemplified with a case study within the framework of action research in order to improve the quality of education. 311 teenagers from secondary education school, Violant de Casalduch, participated in the study for 4 consecutive years, 2017 to 2021. And 4 participants in this study managed to be finalists in the contest. The results of this creative activity have been very positive. It has been observed how the visit of the authors, the black theme, and the participation in literary competitions are activities that promote reading and writing in the area of language and literature. In short, this methodological proposal explores other pedagogical possibilities for secondary school teachers to teach through the active participation of reading and writing. It's difficult to establish limits or classify what is known as a crime novel. The term of this narrative appeared at the beginning of the 19th century with the American writer Edgar Allan Poe, who occupied a path towards the thematic based on solving a crime with rational and scientific methods. We call this type of novel a police novel, although in Europe it is better known as a problem novel. This type is characterized by having a private investigator and apparently insoluble crime, and the rational solution that excludes supernatural elements. In this novel, violence hardly exists, and the world that appears is that of the upper classes and luxurious mansions. What matters is the resolution of the conflict, and the social or moral problems that have caused the crime are not investigated. The crime novel was born in the first 2 decades of the 20th century in the United States in a context of conflict as a result of the First World War, the crash of 29, prohibition, the corruption of state institutions, the mafias, prostitution. The first change observed between the English and American currents is the harshness of the language and the environment, hence the origin of the second term. These novels are assigned to urban and violent spaces whose protagonists are anti-heroes, detectives, gangsters, and fatal women who live according to their own moral code and are characterized as lonely, tough, disenchanted with life, and losers in their personal life, but successful in their profession. For Javier Sanchez, a university professor of literature specialized in crime novels, their purpose is to reflect on the origin and role of violence in the contemporary world. Violence coexists in our society through the news, appears on social networks, and is present in classrooms. Fights, insults, humiliations, vandalism, cyberbullying, bullying, and outside of them. Faced with this reality, the crime novel allows teachers to penetrate human dramas to find solutions to the basic questions of who and why. The artistic and literary workshops are a great motivation for young people and encourage artistic and creative expression. In Spain, we find a wide variety of festivals that give teachers the opportunity to introduce the cultural and literary world in the classroom. In the analyzed sample, only 4 had attended literary talks outside the academic sphere, which shows that this type of activity is necessary to promote reading, writing, and bring culture closer to this stage of adolescence. This literary experience also allows the student body to get to know the writers of the works they have read. Attend workshops and literary debates, so the mechanism of writing and reading acquires a new, much more enriching meaning. The student moves away from a passive role to become a learner who participates in his own learning. In this project, the Castelló Negre Festival was the most appropriate since its task is to spread culture in a black key to the entire territory of the province of Castellón. For this reason, each year the festival is broken down into different venues and sing spaces in different municipalities. This proximity allowed the students of the ES Violant de Casalduch to enjoy this festival in their academic and regional environment. The project was applied in the subject of Spanish language and literature in a public center in the Valencian community. Throughout the second or third terms for 4 consecutive years, the participants have been selected in a non-random way from mixed groups of second, 5 groups, third 3 groups, and fourth 6 groups, and the total number of the sample is 311 students aged between 12 to 15 years. The European Union responds to the need to develop the communicative competence of students, understood in all its aspects: pragmatic, linguistic, sociolinguistic, and literary. Thus, on the one hand, these objectives must provide the students with the necessary tools and knowledge to deal with satisfactorily in any communicative situation of academic, family, social, and professional life, and on the other hand, it must serve to strengthen the necessary communicative competence in all areas of adult life. This communicative competence is one of the pillars of social coexistence, so expressive skills must be very present in the programming. The main objective of the project was to promote reading and writing in teens through the crime novel and literary festivals. To develop this methodology, readings related to hard-boiled novel are proposed for the second or third term, depending on the year. The organizers of the Castelló Negre Festival offer us literary workshops to talk about the characteristics of this novel and the visit of a writer of this model. In addition, thanks to the support of public institutions that participate in this festival, such as the Castellón and Benicàssim city councils, the books are provided free of charge, and the visit of the writer and the workshops are financed. So this methodology does not suppose any extra cost for the school or the families. This work accounted for 10% of the evaluation grade, and 2 aspects were taken into account to make the correction. On the one hand, reading comprehension that was evaluated through question-answer type quizzes in the classroom. On the other hand, the correctness of the story was evaluated, and linguistic and grammatical correctness issues were taken into account. All papers were graded in order to improve their writing, and each student was offered models and examples to hone their writing competence. In general, all levels have been eligible to participate in the story contest. However, for the readings, the third and fourth years of compulsory secondary education have been selected, since the students at these levels are more prepared for the Black Sea. The impact of this project has a very positive effect on the students' interest in writing and reading. Thus, during these years, about 200 stories of Black themes have been submitted to the contest, of which 4 have been finalists. These awards were accompanied by public events and the recognition of public institutions, foundations, teachers, and classmates. In addition, the writings of the finalists were published and served as a sample to future contestants. As a result, the young writer added value to this ability to create stories, and this experience also provides an incentive for other students who saw possibilities of being selected. It is difficult to measure the impact that this experience has had on their lives in a qualitative way. However, through the observations of their attitude towards the dynamics of reading and writing, it can be stated that this project has significantly promoted the value of reading and writing in the educational center in which it has been tested. Below, we offer an illustrative table of these visits and workshops that were carried out. It is not common to see this presence of crime fiction in academic settings, and nevertheless, the teenagers demand readings and stories that catch him, intrigue him with characteristic and charismatic characters and enigmas that must be solved. Death is a taboo subject in our society, much more than sex. Not talking about the subject who does not solve this existential doubt that the adolescent has, especially this year affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. These readings allow them to debate about a type of death that is not natural, which is the result of crime, violence, or is far from the accepted ways of dying. The hard-boiled novel allows us to understand other forms of urban criminal and homicidal violence that teens want to explore. This educational proposal gives them the opportunity to deal with the issue of violence and the transgression of the norms in our society from all areas, and that is why the teenagers connect with this type of reading. Through their reading and writing, an attempt is made to understand violence, the lack of protection of the weakest, abuse of a power, bloody homicide, psychological problems, or suicide. By addressing this issue in the classroom, an adolescent's concern is being unset, and the possibility of expressing it creatively through stories and readings is offered. Finally, it can be said that it has been possible to promote writing practice among participants and improve their readiness to read, promote student motivation, and connect writers with teenagers. This nearness has allowed them to feel closer to the books, to understand the editorial frameworks and the lives that writers lead. This fact has been a turning point for many students who, from this project, have taken up creative writing. Getting this type of practice to reach the educational community is key to promoting an intrinsic point of the curriculum in the area of language and literature, and offers other pedagogical possibilities for secondary school teachers to teach through active participation.
Thank you all for your attention. I leave you the links to social networks in case you want to add comments and suggestions or see other similar projects. Thank you very much.